Hello and welcome to the second tutorial of my multiplayer VR tutorial series. In this tutorial you will learn on how to create a Steam implementation, on how to create this main menu, session creation and obviously joining a session. And in addition to session management, I've also created a menu pawn you can use for the menu, which can interact with the widgets, and we will also take a little dive into building the project so you can actually send it to your friends and start testing with them through Steam. So let's get right into it by activating the Steam API, and we can do that by activating the Advanced Sessions and Advanced Steam Sessions plugin. You should already have them activated because in the VR expansion plugin template they are already used. And once you've done that, you can head right into the project repository, this folder right here, and go into config and DefaultEngine.ini. I have the file extensions disabled right now, but it would say .ini. And then scroll to the bottom, and in my description I will have this code snippet, and you can just copy it and paste it here at the bottom, save, and then close it. Yeah, and once you've done that, you can head back into the main folder, create a new text document, call it Steam_AppId, and open it and insert your app ID in here. For you, it will probably be 480 as well, because this is your Steam developer ID and you only get your own if you already paid the $100 you have to pay to release your game on Steam. And 480 is just the development ID everybody can use, and I assume you would want that too. If you already have your own one, you will have to change it here, and obviously as well in the default engine ini over here. Perfect. So with that set up, we can close the project again and just open it again. Perfect, and that's basically everything we need to have Steam activated, because if we now hit play in standalone game, a new window will open with the game, and if I hit Steam over here, I can see that I'm in Space War, which is basically the development game of Steam. If you have your app ID of 480, it will say Space War. If you have your own app ID, it will obviously say the name of your own game. Perfect, and we also have the game overlay in here and can use everything. And now that we have Steam initialized, I like to just create a new level for the main menu. I like to use the basic one, because in VR you will not just add the widget to the viewport. I have it standing around in my level so that you can still turn in VR, move your head and not have the widget in your face all the time. Hit save, go into game content, scenes, and call it level _ main menu. Perfect. And then we can go back into the core, and here we've got to create a new folder called menu. I would create a new game mode for main menu. Also create a new folder for menu pawn, because we will be using a different pawn right here, which can only look around and interact with widgets and is not replicated, because the VR expansion pawn is already replicated, and that would lead to problems if you try to connect to sessions with the already replicated pawn. So we go into here and search for character. VR base character, I would just go for character and BP menu pawn, and we can open it up. Perfect, we can just leave it as it is, and then insert a new camera, lock to HMD, so the VR headset will lock to the camera, and motion controller can be added in as well, but not under the camera, just right here. I'll name this one right, because it's the motion controller for the right hand. Motion controller for the left hand. Oh. And then we can go into here, and then we should have the motion source over here, and for the left it's left obviously, and for the right it's right. Awesome. And now so we can interact with widgets. We can add a widget interaction, draw, add interaction, show debug, so we can just see it in game later and know where we're aiming, and then add a widget interaction over here as well. Widget interaction, and call this one left widget interaction. Perfect. Show the debug here as well, and then we can go into here and access the input actions we already have from the VR expansion template. Let me show you them real quick. We've got this VRE input mapping, and we've got all the actions basically, and we're going to use the primary grip and primary right to trigger the widget interaction. In a future tutorial I will show you how to edit all these so you can change your key bindings and add new input actions and so on, but that's nothing for this tutorial. So we will go over here. We know that it's called primary grip, and we can just primary grip left and take primary grip right as well. And once that is triggered, we are going to take the left interaction pointer key and press pointer key and hit your left mouse button over here. The pointer key is basically only the key which will be emulated by the primary grip left, so it will hit the left mouse button where the interaction is pointed right now by pressing your VR inputs. So we're going to drag triggered over there, and once this is completed we want to release the pointer key as well, like this, and we can just copy and paste this, take the right widget interaction, put it into here, and yeah, and with that done, oh, that was wrong. Okay, while my first VR test I noticed some things I forgot, because the left widget interaction and the right widget interaction in the BP menu pawn, to find over here, has to be rotated on the y-axis in -90 degrees. That's just so it actually points where you're pointing and not 90 degrees up. You will have to do that with the left widget interaction -90 and the right widget interaction -90. And another thing you will have to do is this one. I forgot that. You just have to take your event begin play by typing it over here, then you will get this. You will have to get your player controller, and from that the enhanced input local player subsystem, and then you will have to add a mapping context and select the VRE input mapping context. Have to connect that, and then you can make options, and you will just have to force immediately. Tick that, and that's basically that. And what that does is, because I used some inputs here I never mapped for that pawn in the other pawn that's happening in the begin play over here, begin play map input, and that's where that happens, and you have to do that in the menu pawn as well, obviously, just so you can actually use these inputs. And with the rotated widget interaction, now everything is working. Okay, and with that done, we can set up the game mode by simply opening it and default pawn. Select the menu pawn here, so the menu pawn will be spawned in, and game mode override gm_main menu. And if we hit play now, nothing will work because I have no VR headset attached. We can delete this one. Yeah, but we can already see the debug in the middle. Okay, perfect. Let's create the main menu first and then head into the VR mode and test everything. To create that, I would just go into UI. I already had my test thing created over here. Let me just delete it real quick. And then create a main menu folder. Go into right click, create a new user interface, widget blueprint, and I'll just call it session management. This will be just a very basic main menu. I will have no friend list of Steam over there. I will not manage invites yet. I will only create a create session button and join session button, which will be perfectly enough for playtesting, because if you send a finished build of the game to your friend and your friend hits create and you hit join afterwards, it will only find the session of your friend and join into that. If you want a more advanced main menu with, for example, Steam friend lists, etc., just leave a comment and I'll make a tutorial on that. But for this one, we will take a canvas panel, go over here, take, actually not, because it can be 16 by 9. We'll just leave it as it is. I like to create an image, then anchors like this, actually like this. Take the tint, make it a little bit darker, then take a vertical box, put it right here, the anchors in the middle, and then take a button, put it in the vertical box like that, and put the image up here so it does not hide the rest. Then I'll take a text, put it into the button, right, create session, take the button and yeah, go to the vertical box and size the content then, and rename the button to button create session over here and tick is variable. Then I just like to, I don't know, give it padding of 10 and copy that, paste it and name it join session and change the text to join session as well. Awesome. Okay, so now we've got this this widget. We can also already create the actor for that, and we'll just call it bp_main menu, because you can't just drag the widget into the level and interact with it. We will have to create a blueprint for that, and we will just go ahead and add a widget into this blueprint, then select the widget class, which is wg main menu. No, session management, then compile, hit OK, and we can drag that one into here. And have it like that. The exact position has to be tested later on, but that looks about right. Good. So now we can create the functionality, because we've got this widget in here, but if we press the buttons, nothing will happen. So I'll just delete these real quick and then choose button create session over here and get the on clicked function, and then we can just create session by advanced session plugin, public connections. This is just how many players you want to allow in your world, and we also have to get player controller, because we're still in a local level. It's enough to just have player index 0. If you want to use LAN, you can tick use LAN, but because we are connecting over Steam later, I would not recommend to do that, because then your friends won't be able to connect. And after that, I like to print a string creating session, because this will be triggered right after this is yeah, this basically starts. On success, I want to print out created session and also open level as listen this just makes sure that everybody who connects later will be sent to the same level. And then we want to use level gameplay. I hope that's the correct name. Let me check real quick. It is. Yeah. So once the session is created successfully, it says created session and opens the level the game takes place on later. And if it's failing, we obviously want to print out failed creating session, just so we know what's happening. Awesome. And on the other hand, we have to take the button join session, and there we can just find session, advanced session, find sessions advanced, go for the player controller again, just copy it, makes results. I'll just hit 1 because, as said, this is only for debug. I would recommend to make these inputs into a widget input later as well, but as said, I'll probably make a tutorial on that at a later point. And now you can just get a ref, and here as well, by the way, I would just string a print out searching session on failure, failed to find session, and on success join session. Because you get all your results here, we take the first one, because in development we can be sure that there will be only one. Later, as said, I would just print them out in a list or something like that. And on success join, we can still take the player controller of index 0, because we are still in the menu, which is standalone and no server. Join session, and here we can again print joining session. And on success, print joined session, and on failure, you guessed it, failed to join session. I would heavily recommend these debugs, because it's way easier to debug this way if you got the right point which failed printed out in the upper left corner of your screen. Okay, that seems about right. Perfect. And for easier debug, we are going to take the core player controller as well, copy it by pressing Ctrl C, pasting it by Ctrl V, and then menu controller. We are going to create a menu controller which will basically do the following. So if we have no HMD enabled, what we are going to do is drag that over here and create widgets, the session or your main menu, however it's called, owning player self, because it's the player controller. Then we're going to add this to viewport. If you have ever made a 2D game, you might be familiar with that, and save that. And if we are not if we are a VR player, we can go for VP_menu pawn. And another very important thing is to disconnect this node right here, because if it's connected you will only see black, and the camera we have assigned on our pawn will get overwritten, and to prevent that we are disconnecting this node right here. And if we now go back into the GM main menu, we can take the pawn out here and just take the player menu controller, save, compile, and as said, I don't have a VR headset enabled at my computer right now. If we go for create, it will now just spawn the widget without any VR pawn. Again, it's pretty convenient for debugging, and if I hit create session, creating session, created session, on the upper left, and if I go into the second instance and hit join, it's going to type searching session. That will obviously take a little while because he's searching. And he found something, joined the session, and here we are together in this in the world. And we can also see, which is pretty important, it's net mode standalone. Because from now on, if you're starting in the main menu and want to test something, you will have to hit a standalone over here. Very important, because you're not starting as a server, you're starting the server by pressing create session. And if you want to test something in your gameplay level, you will have to switch over to listen server again, because if I start two standalone instances, we can't see each other because we are not on the same server. And if I hit listen server over here, one is the host, the other one is the player, and that's basically how Steam lobbies work as well. Except you have a dedicated server, but you probably won't. Awesome. Okay, so now we have the player controller set up as well. Okay, now that we have the menu pawn done, the menu controller, the widget, and some logic for creating and joining sessions, I will show you real quick on how to package this project so that you could send this project to your friend and test with him. Yeah, the first thing you will have to do is go into the project settings and then go into packaging and then open up advanced. It's very hidden, I know. And go into list of maps to include to in a package build. Then I would okay, you will have to type in the actual name of your map. For me it's level gameplay and main menu, and then you can save that, and then you can search for map over here, scroll back up, and editor startup map. I would actually recommend hitting a gameplay map, and game default map should be the main menu, so that when you start the game the main menu will open. And now you can save everything. Go over here to the 3 point, no, never mind, go to platforms, Windows, and then hit package project and go into the right directory. I have my build folder here, ER tutorial test build, and select the folder, and then it will package the project for Windows. That will take quite some time, and yeah. And once your build is complete, you can simply go into the folder and open it. If you have a VR headset connected to your PC and Steam VR started, the game will start in VR. If you have no VR headset connected, the game will simply start in the emulator way, so you can actually cross-play with your friends who have no VR headset if you need to test something and yeah, they don't have a VR headset. If you have connection issues with your friends and the joining fails, make sure you have the same download region in Steam, because if you have different regions, you won't be able to connect with the 4.8.0 SteamAppId, because that will only work with actual already Steam implemented games with your own developer ID and not with the public dev ID. If you still have any questions or had any problems while following the tutorial, feel free to leave a comment or add me on Discord. I will try to help everyone who messages me. And the next tutorial will be about grabbing types, multiplayer proof, replicated, and that tutorial will be released 1 week from now. If you enjoyed this video or it could help you, please leave a like, subscribe, it would help me a lot, and have a nice day.